Good day, everyone. This is the Dr. Sophia Rothschild show. I have a PhD in experimental physics, but I also have a doctorate in history, economics, and politics, and I'm in theology. Okay. Today, I'm going to briefly talk about the issue of I have seen people use interchangeable race, nationality, and culture. They're not the same things. For example, you marry someone that says white with Spain with nationality. There is a difference between nationality and culture and race. Okay. Number one, we say when we talk about nationality, we talk about what nation are you from? You can be from Mexico or Cuba or Jamaica or Brazil or Australia or New Zealand or India or China or Russia. Those are nations. And the nation from is your nationality. From Russia, you're Russian. If you're from India, an Indian. From Australia, you're an Australian. If you're from Israel, you're an Israeli. All right. Now, when we speak of race, we are speaking of white race or the black race or the Asiatic race. For example, there are Mexicans who are black. There are Jamaicans who are black. There are Cubans who are black. There are Brazilians who are black. There are other nations where there are black people. But also there are Cubans who are white. Fidel Castro was a white person. In Jamaica, there are people who are white. Edward Siaga was white. Um, there are Mexicans who are white, clearly white, you know. And people might say, "Oh, there's no such thing as race." Well, I tell you what. Um, when you're walking down the street and you look at a person, you can tell a difference. Black people don't look like white people, don't look like Asian people, so there are differences. What they call us, what even if it's 1%, okay, there's a difference. It's a white person walking on the street, or a black person walking on the street, or an Asian person walking on the street, whatever. There are differences. So there are Mexicans who are black, and there are Mexicans who are white. There are Cubans who are black, there are Cubans who are white. Fidel Castro. There are Jamaicans who are white and Jamaicans who are black. Um, Peter Tosh from Jamaica, he was a black man, obviously. Edward Siaga was clearly not a black man. He was more like a European or a person, a white person, white precision. And you have Asians. Like you look at a Chinese person or a Korean person, clearly doesn't look like a black person. So there are differences. Now, when we speak of culture, well, the Latina culture, it's the culture is made up of a group of nations from Latin America, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua. Those are all the key. Those are all Latin um, American nations, but still there are Latin people who are black, and there are Latin people who are white. So they're not the same. So, for example, people say, "Oh, there's no such thing as race." Well, because when you see a white person walking on the street and you see a black person walking on the street, they don't look the same. Now, it may be just a 0.1% difference, but there is a difference. And we have to acknowledge this difference. Not to do so is just basically just foolhardy nonsense. So there. So when we say nations, we speak of say Jamaica or Cuba or Australia, New Zealand, or Russia, etc., etc., etc. Those are nations, and the nation you're from, that's your nationality. For example, you're from America. You're an American. Now, there are Americans who are white, and there are Americans who are black, and there are Americans who are Asians. And we know that because they look different. Okay? Different. So that's reality. We must acknowledge reality and the reality. Now, the difference between a black person and a white person is genetically probably just 1%. But yes, the difference exists and we must acknowledge this. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me today. And you have a very good day and enjoy the series.